What's up, guys? It's Andrew Pecoraro with Peck's Middle Picks. It's been a long time since I've made a video like this, but I recently got a new computer and I've been slacking on writing my reviews and just doing music stuff in general. So I thought this would be a fun time to try to get back into it. And, hopefully everything looks good and sounds good, and you can ignore the XSplit logo in the bottom right. I just haven't pulled the trigger on getting the subscription for that yet, but Halloween is right around the corner, and it seemed like the perfect time to throw a little watch party for Ice Nine Kills' brand new record called Welcome to Horrorwood. It is a follow up to their last album called The Silver Scream. Pretty much follows the same theme of each song is about a different horror movie. So perfect for the Halloween October season. The album's been out for a couple weeks now, and it hit number 18 on the Billboard 200, which is huge. That's like pretty unheard of for metalcore bands these days. I think Spirit Box might have actually gotten a little bit higher than that, but holy smokes, that is unreal for both Ice Nine Kills and Spirit Box. This album is monumental for Ice Nine Kills. So I'm gonna do a quick little run through of the songs. I'm gonna watch the 4 music videos that they released. Might listen to a couple of the other tracks to kind of fill in the gaps. And this isn't really like a reaction video or anything like that. It's more of me just taking in the songs, taking in the album, and writing a review the way that I normally write them. And you can find all of my reviews on Instagram at Peck's Metal Picks. I'm sure a lot of you guys know about that. So, this isn't going to be like super dramatic or me over exaggerating stuff. This is just going to be how I normally appreciate an album as I listen to it and review and kind of like, just take it all in and how I normally do that. So, I'm looking forward to jumping into it. A couple things to note. Obviously, I've heard this album before. This isn't like the first time listening through it. I've listened to it a lot because it's a really good album. So, I do have a couple thoughts that I'll start off with before we start listening to it. The first thing is, look, when I found out that Ice Nine Kills was doing a sequel and they were continuing the theme of all the horror movie type stuff, I was pretty skeptical about how I thought that was going to turn out. I felt like they were kind of milking the gimmick a little bit too much, and like a gimmick really I think is the best word for it, but at the same time, like even acknowledging that, it's still so good. Like you can't even be mad at them for, going so deep into the gimmick because they pull it off so well. And yeah, it can get a little bit cringy at times with the puns and the theatrics, but they're one of the few bands that's keeping metalcore fun right now. Like you look back, we used to have outrageous bands like I Wrestled a Bear once and Attila. I mean, I guess they're still pretty outrageous, but you know what I mean? Bands with like real personality. And I feel like that's something that Ice Nine Kills is bringing back, and they're doing such a good job at just like putting on these personas and like, dressing it up the way that it should be dressed up. So the other thing too though is the band is clearly super talented. Ice Nine Kills is one of the best bands that I've seen live. They're so good, and Spencer is an unbelievable vocalist, and I feel like all of the other members really stepped up when it came to their respective instruments on this album. Like, comparing this one to The Silver Scream, there are a lot more impressive moments on this album for me. So, look, looking to the future, I'm not that sure where Ice Nine Kills goes from here. Like, can you really get away with doing a third album about horror stuff? I don't know. I mean, maybe, maybe they can, but that's not really where I want to see them go. If it were up to me, I would like to see them, instead of relying on other source material, start to maybe create their own stories and like their own visuals and that kind of stuff. kind of like what Famous Last Words did on their album called The Two-Faced Charade. You know, the idea of concept albums is not new, you know, certainly. But I think if Ice Nine Kills could create those types of new stories and new concepts and make them as compelling as they can make this other source material, that would be huge for me. So, we're just going to jump into the songs right now. Typically, when I do a full review, I listen to the songs in order. Obviously, that's just like makes sense how you would review an album. But the music videos for this album are pretty awesome. Like, they clearly put so much time and effort into it that I'm actually going to start with the four that they released first. So, we're going to jump into it here. The first one is going to be Hip to Be Scared. Hip to Be Scared features Jacoby Shaddix, and this was the first single that they put out. And you know, like I said, I started off pretty skeptical when I found out they were doing the horror theme stuff all over again. And then I heard this song, and as much as I didn't want to love it, as much as I wanted to say, like, oh, I can't believe they did it again, you know, they're so washed up, I couldn't, because this song was actually really good. So here we go. So I'll probably try not to talk too much over the tracks. I'm just going to be writing my thoughts off screen here. Valentino couture mixed with violence and gore. Well, I guess I'm a pretty sick guy. With my beauty routines and a phrase full of spleen. Some might say it's extreme, but it's time to say goodbye. So to hell with good intentions. So to hell is where I'll go. But the devil makes exceptions. Man, as much as I love the heavy parts too, the choruses in this one are really compelling. I can't help but smile while watching it. They just nail the visuals so well. It's just like they're just executing it so perfectly. The whole album has a refined melodic sensibility that really makes it a cut above the rest. Hey, Paul! The other thing you just have to comment on is that middle section right before the middle breakdown where Spencer kind of breaks the fourth wall and talks about Ice Nine Kills and kind of makes fun of the band a little bit is so funny to me. If you've seen American Psycho, um, you'll recognize that part immediately, and it is kind of a funny meta comment of them to poke and have a little bit of fun uh, regarding the band's own history and that kind of stuff. So here we go. We're going to go into the next one now. This one is titled Assault and Batteries, and this one is about Chucky.
Andy, give me a minute, Mom. I have a present for you. After my show.
I will say one thing. Like when you listen to it, I think the only thing that might hurt the replayability of the album is some of the samples. Like this part's not my favorite part to hear over and over again. The parts in American Psycho don't really bug me at all, but I don't know, it's just an interesting thing to think about. Like some of those parts when kids are going like nah 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 nah, it fits perfectly. That's the thing. It fits perfectly, but it's just hearing the kid voices like that, just the high pitched voices can get a little bit grating, I think, after a little while. So yeah, that one, it's not necessarily my favorite, but they're just so spot on with it that you appreciate it no matter what. And the thing that I will say about this album is when I went back and listened to the Silver Scream to kind of compare them, um, they kind of have the same general mix of songs. I actually think that Welcome to Horrorwood has some heavier moments, like overall, like in general, the heavier moments are a little bit more frequent and even a little bit heavier than they were on the Silver Scream. And the choruses also are just so catchy, and like the hooks really get me every time. And so, uh, yeah, I don't know. We're gonna move into the next one now. Funeral Derangements. I just have to fix the video cropping. There we go. This actually is potentially my favorite song on the album, and once again, the chorus is so good in this one.
How the hell do you explain death to such a little kid?
Well, maybe you don't have to.
This is also one of the heavier ones, like really heavier ones, so. The symphonic elements in the background are pretty epic too. Like this part, you wouldn't even expect this, and then they kill it. It's so good.
Sometimes it is better. Sometimes it is better. They say that time is out. I would hate the call. Still I can't escape the struggle. Driven with my stress. Nothing got to know I am. The hero steady stone.
The other thing about this one, Spencer has such good variety in his screams.
Begin with a skid on the pavement. It ends here with funeral arrangements. The flesh is living, but the soul's a smile. The wrath of God lies beneath the soil. Tonight, don't give up, don't let go, I'll make this right. I'll dig through sorrow and disgust, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Don't give up, don't let go, I'll make this right.
That's such a classic throwback with the breakdown, the EO. Like, I almost have to go back to that part again. Like, this is like before Black and before, you know, all those ones. This was such a classic one. To find exactly where it is again, but it's just such the perfect end to this one. You know, it's so like fast-paced and dynamic, and it just keeps things going. You know, Spencer screams so much range each time. It's just like you never know what you're gonna get, and then you get these sweet cleans and just a really compelling chorus, and then this throwback. Bringing in the symphonic elements again for the end. Oh, so good. So like I said, I think that really might be my favorite one on the album. Up next, though, we got Rainy Day. I think this is the last music video that we have. Yeah, let's just jump into it. This part right away made me think of Bring Me the Horizon a little bit.
Through the holes in the evidence where evil is taking up residence. No faith in what red and white will say. They save the truth for a rainy day. Fall through the cracks with the casualty of freedom's thrown out with morality. Become a soldier for the controller. Are you listening to the whispering? Is it sinking in? 'Cause it's sickening. Will you take the bait? Will you suffocate? 'Cause you know something is creeping in the dark.
Like this part. A little bit of Bring Me the Horizon influence. You know, like this one's a little bit less heavy, but this is, you know, just as much of what Ice Nine Kills is compared to the heavy stuff too. Like they've always been that mix, and I'm glad that they can keep it up and that they haven't compromised their super heavy stuff yet, and that they can still bring a sound like this at the same time.
There is no next level. All access.
You died.
And an O breakdown. That's pretty cool too. That's another throwback. Pretty fun, man. I mean, look, I normally don't care that much about music videos, but they clearly put so much effort into it, and they turned out really cool. You know, they're just, they really are honestly pretty epic. And the other thing about it is it looks like Spencer is just living his best life in there. Like he is in character, having so much fun. So that's pretty much it for the music videos. I do have all of the other songs open here, but I'm looking to see. You know, I liked this one I'm gonna play Welcome to Horrorwood and focus on this one a little bit because well, I'll just get into it as it's playing. This one for me, I think, kind of gave me a look into what I thought sort of like mature, developed Ice Nine Kills would sound like. And I thought that maybe I'm thinking of a different one, but I thought that I heard some like Avenged Sevenfold type influences in here. And it was pretty cool. Like this one, to me, stood out a lot because it's not that similar to other things that they've worked on before. Oh, this one also had one of my favorite choruses too, which, like, for me, if an album has good choruses and I actually enjoy the softer parts, you know something really good is going on. It's so funny having the lyrics pop up on the screen because you can see all the puns that they put in.
Stardom's just an afterthought for all those stabbed in the back lot, piled up and left to rot.
So how's this for an establishing shot?
Misunderstood. Are you more bad than good? Welcome to Horrorwood, where anyone would kill for a combat. There goes the neighborhood, but long live Horrorwood, the only place where everyone should feel the premiere. There's always a target on the between silver screens. Something's awakened. But enjoy the show.
I think it was this part that made me think a little bit of Avenged Sevenfold. And it actually works. Like putting a guitar solo in a song, sometimes it feels forced. Like they just had to try to find somewhere to put it in, but it worked right there pretty well. That was just one of the examples, and I don't have another one to really point to off the top of my head, but after listening to it a couple times, I got the sense that like the guitars were playing a bigger part in this album than before. They had a couple more moments to really stand out and really show what they're capable of. That was one of them, but it was just like a sense that I got throughout the whole thing. So I'm looking for one more maybe to play. And I think honestly I'm gonna do Take Your Pick, which features Corpse Grinder from Cannibal Corpse.
Soon hearts will be broken and the damage severe. You'll fall headless over heels once the 14th is here.
more cool guitar parts. Perfect one to pick. I totally did that on purpose. A nice little calm part in here. I was gonna say, as soon as it went to that calm part, you know what that means, right? You know what comes next. But I didn't want to mess up and interrupt the heavy part. Wow, well that was a good one to lead into, based on what I was saying in the previous one. So, yeah guys, I mean, I think that pretty much speaks for itself. This album is full of awesome tracks, each one totally different than the next. You never know if you're gonna get just pure heaviness or a mix between the two. There's softer songs on the album too. I didn't really focus on them. I'll be honest, those ones are not really my favorite. But I still appreciate what Ice Nine Kills does, which is to bring all of those sounds together. And I think really the fact that each song is based on a different horror movie lets them experiment more and try to find the sound that matches that song best. And so I hope that's one thing, you know, no matter how they continue in the future and no matter what they move on to next, I do hope that that's one thing that they keep is just the sort of eclectic mix of sounds and experimenting with different things and even being a little bit silly sometimes. You know, like in the first song we listened to, it has kind of that like jazz, weird disco section in the middle. And I think some of those, the reason is because it's based on it's based on movies that come from like the 80s and the 90s, and so they can draw that inspiration from a different time. And just whatever they make next, I hope that they can continue to still incorporate different inspirations like that, even if the source material doesn't take them directly back to the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, that type of thing. So I think I'll just end it there. I don't have too much else to say other than this album is killer. I'm stoked for them. I was very skeptical, and they completely proved me wrong. Like going into it, I kind of wanted them to just flop and show that they were kind of a one-trick pony and have the fans say, why the heck did you do this a second time? But this went literally as good as it could have gone for them. Like, they could not have done it better, in my opinion. And so for that reason, I think this album will certainly end up on a lot of people's end of the year lists. Easily top 10 for a lot of people. So just congratulations to Ice Nine Kills. You guys really doubled down in a way on the sequel, and I think it paid off. It couldn't have gone better for you, so great job. And for everybody watching, if you've made it this far, thanks for hanging out, and hopefully you like this, and I'll try to do some more of these in the future. So I'll see you all next time.